Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Tootsie Barron. We'll be discussing her fantastic book, I Can See the Rainbow Bridge, available for purchase through Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, AuthorReputationPress.com. But if you guys want to gather all of the information that Tootsie has to offer, do yourself a favor and head directly to her personal site. Now again, for purchasing the book, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and AuthorReputationPress.com are the places you have to go. But if you want to gather more information on Tootsie, you want to gather more information on this fantastic narrative, I Can See the Rainbow Bridge, or her other book that she's written, Sugar Paper, make sure you're heading over to TootieBarron.com. There you'll find all of that information, and then you can head on over to Amazon and purchase the book. So one more time, that's TootieBarron.com. And guys, if you haven't figured it out already, Tootsie was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by Author Reputation Press. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, do yourself a favor and reach out to our great friends over there at ARP. And remember, you can find out more information on them at AuthorReputationPress.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure, such an honor, such a delight to have Tootsie on the line with us, because many of you may remember Tootsie when she was on our network prior. In the previous interview, we discussed her book, Sugar Paper. Now, the interview went so well, and we had such favorable responses, we had to bring Tootsie back here on the line, okay? Now, this time, we're switching gears. Now, Sugar Paper was definitely not a children's book, okay? That was for adults, specifically. But now today, we're going to do something for the kids, right? Because the kids need some love, too. And we have I Can See the Rainbow Bridge. The moment you start to do any research on this fantastic narrative, guys, you understand what we're going to be discussing. And as Tootsie and I were talking on the pre-screening call and we were preparing for this interview, we talked about how each of us are animal lovers, right? And I come from a huge background of animals, and I was raised with them. I absolutely love them. I am a firm believer that we as human beings, we don't deserve animals, a lot of animals, right? Especially dogs. They're too good for us. They really are. I mean, we just don't deserve them. I try my best to earn my dog's love every day, but I'm not going to lie. His name is Buddy, but I'm not going to lie. Buddy he's too good for me, okay? I strive to be the person that my dog sees me as, really is what I like. And we know, guys, when we talk about life and life's journey, where there is life, inevitably there will be death. It's just a part of the process, and we can't escape it, even though we would like to sometimes. Well, that same thing applies for our pets. Well, we know as an adult what that grieving process looks like, what that grieving process feels like. Well, some of us may remember when we were children and we lost a pet and how devastating that was. Well, Tootsie also understood that, and she took it upon herself to make sure that she created a narrative that was specifically for those grieving children and to help them through their process. And I absolutely love it. And listen, she's the expert, okay? She's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could, so I'm not going to steal her thunder. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Tootsie, first and foremost, welcome back to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you?
I'm just fine, and that's a two-way street. I am honored to be back on your show. I'm so glad you invited me back, and it is my pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Tootsie, listen, the pleasure is truly, it's all ours. And we are humbled to have you here, and we enjoyed the process so much the first time. Why wouldn't we bring you back? I mean, listen, if you keep writing books, we're going to keep on bringing you back, Tootsie, okay? Now, listen, for those of
you got a deal.
There it is. Absolutely. Pretty soon, we're going to make you the co-host, okay? You're going to be on here with me interviewing people because our friendship has established that, right? No, Tootsie, for those of our listening audience members that unfortunately missed the first interview, let's start off with a little more background information on yourself. Please tell our listening audience a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. I was born and raised in up North Jersey, in Jersey City. I now call the Queen. I live right outside of the Queen, which is also known as Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. And I now call South Jersey my home. I guess that was my destiny to get down here in the Atlantic City area. And, of course, that is told more in sugar paper.
Absolutely.
I love to write. I always wanted to become an author. It was never would I. It was always when it was going to happen. Mm-hmm. I had a very busy life. And after my husband passed away and after I recovered, I decided it was time now. Give me something to do. And I picked up the pen. And I've been writing ever since. And hopefully we'll continue to do so. As long as the words come in, I'm going to be writing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And guys, we'll touch up on this a little bit later on, but there is definitely more in store. There are 2 books that are still in creation, so they're not available to purchase just yet. And like I said, we'll touch up on it more later on in the interview. But there's a sequel to I Can See the Rainbow Bridge called Will You Be There When I Call to You? Now, again, still in creation, but make sure you're looking into and you're checking out her page, TootsieBarron.com, frequently the moment that comes to fruition. And then also, she's working on another novel called Into Foreverland, also still in creation. So make sure you're looking into both of those to catch them as soon as they become available. Now, Tootsie, without further ado, today's anchor is all about I Can See the Rainbow Bridge. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Words come in all the time into my imagination, of course, as they do all of us writers. And I got to thinking one day about the wonderful pets I've had, all dogs and all boys, in my lifetime. And when I lost my Boy Scout, when he crossed over the Rainbow Bridge, he was my shadow and my favorite. And I decided to write a poem for him. And I wanted to show the children that as much as we as adults do grieve, these pets have become part of our family. They're family members. They're no longer animals. They're family members. And as much as we are devastated, I got to thinking, well, what would it be like? What are the children feeling when they lose their pet? And I decided to write a poem to show the children. It was my hope that when they finish reading it or having it read to them, that they will see, not to worry. Our pets really do go to a beautiful place when they cross over the Rainbow Bridge. And that was my intention, to get that message out to the children. I took a little different turn with this book. Most of any books that I've ever read or seen about any kind of a pet or animal, the human does the dialogue. Well, I decided to try something a little different. I like to occasionally step out of the box. And I decided to give the words, the dialogue, to Boy Scouts. So Tootie's not doing the talking in this book. Boy Scout is doing the talking to her, because I do believe that if our pets could speak to us in our language, this is what they would say to us. And that's exactly how I interpreted it, and that's exactly how I wrote it. So this is all about Boy Scout. He's the star. He's doing the talking, and hopefully he did it quite well. That is my hope.
Absolutely. You know, Tootsie, next concept that I want to go into, I love your title. And the Rainbow Bridge, again, after I've done research on it, and I understand what you're talking about, and right there, of course, it's on the cover of your book. But the Rainbow Bridge was something that really sucked me in. And if it is a term that is a common term in pop culture, it's definitely something that I've missed out on. So I want to touch up there. Talk to us about that title, Tootsie, and specifically that meaning, Rainbow Bridge. A, what does it mean for our listening audience that is unaware? And then B, why did you choose that title to be the representation for your book?
Well, I heard the term many, many years ago. It has been around. Somebody coined that term and wrote about a place called the Rainbow Bridge. Unfortunately, obviously it was never copyrighted because the author is unknown. So with that said, I just decided, well, it's out there for everyone. How I could use it, because we don't know who, the research that I did, we don't know who actually did coin it, but someone did, and we don't know who wrote it. So I would say it belongs to all of us. And the person who wrote it talked about the Rainbow Bridge being the bridge that the animals cross over. As we go through the pearly gates, well, I perceive the Rainbow Bridge to be adjacent to it. And you will see that in the sequel. Will you be there when I call to you? And that's how I perceive it. But I believe it is a place. It is a thing. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to touch upon it, and that's why I chose it. And in even the cover, you can see he's crossing over. Boy Scout is crossing over the Rainbow Bridge, and he's happy. He's got a happy face. And that goes along with the message I'm trying to get out to the children, that they do go to a beautiful, happy place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, again, here on the line with Tootsie Barron. We're discussing her fantastic children's narrative, I Can See the Rainbow Bridge, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, AuthorReputationPress.com. But make sure you're checking out her personal site, even though you can't purchase the books there, TootsieBarron.com, to gather more information on her and all of her books. You know, Tootsie, next question that I'd love to go into, and you started to touch up on it before. I want to tackle the concept of inspiration. Now, as you said, you are someone that has always loved writing. You've always wanted to be a writer. You knew that you were destined to become an author. So clearly this has been an ongoing theme throughout your life. Now, when we had you on the network previously, we talked about your book, Sugar Paper, which is more of a memoir, but a very adult-rated book. Now, clearly here, I Can See the Rainbow Bridge. There's been a transition, and your sequel is not a sequel for Sugar Paper. It's a sequel for I Can See the Rainbow Bridge. So you're sticking, and you're going to be coming out with a second children's narrative. Now, throughout your life, wanting to be a writer, did you have a particular genre or age group that you knew you wanted to write for? Or where did the inspiration to write for a children's age group come from?
Well, many authors stick to one genre. We see that often. If they could be romance novelists, they could write thrillers, and they stay in one genre. I always knew, way back from my school days, that when I became an author one day, I didn't want to be stuck in one genre. I wanted to be able, like I say, I like to step outside the box and go into many different areas. And when I wrote Sugar Paper, which is a work of fiction, and we know I can come right out and say that, to my knowledge, I'm the only woman on the planet who ever wrote a totally mobbed up book. And right. that is what Sugar Paper is. But I didn't want to stay in that genre. So I mixed it up, and I decided to go with the opposite end of the scope and write something so totally different and come up with some children's books. And the novel I'm working on now, which I self-published years ago, and now I'm rewriting it, is going in a completely different area again, that one's going to be a story of lifelong friendship and a beautiful love story. So as you can see, I step out and I go from one extreme to the other. And I just don't want to stay in one genre. I want to mix it up.
Fantastic. And we're glad that you did. We're glad that you did because it makes it very well-rounded, and there's so much to be gained from multiple perspectives, right? Now, as we start to close out of this fantastic interview, Tootsie, I'm curious, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised you that you weren't expecting prior to embarking upon this journey?
The way Boy Scout pulled it off. He starts right at the beginning, and he's telling the story of how he was picked out of the litter by Tootsie, and it goes on, and he'll talk about when she took him home. He gave her his heart. She made him her prince. And right through the book, their life together. And just at the end, when I wrap it up, it says it all. As I close my eyes for the very last time, I say to thee, I was a better dog because you loved me. I have arrived at the Rainbow Bridge. And I think that says it all. It's his journey, his life with Tootsie. And I do believe that our pets, we treat them as family. I'm convinced this is what they would say to us when they are leaving, when they know they're getting ready to cross the Rainbow Bridge. And I do believe they would thank us with all their heart. And that's why I wrapped it up that way.
Listen, any animal lover out there listening in can completely understand and completely attest to everything in the value that is found within the confines of this book. Guys, listen, you know me. I generally like to close out my interviews with a reflection, go on a little spiel. It doesn't even feel right. Listen, Tootsie did such a magnificent job articulating everything. You know what you have to do. I mean, there's really nothing more that I can add on and put onto this, right? Amazon, Barnes & Noble, AuthorReputationPress.com are the places you have to go. I Can See the Rainbow Bridge was the anchor for today's interview, but make sure you're checking into Sugar Paper and also the sequel to I Can See the Rainbow Bridge, Will You Be There When I Call to You? And then lastly, the other novel that she's also in the process of working, Into Foreverland. So remember, Will You Be There When I Call to You and Into Foreverland aren't available just yet. Both of them are still in creation, but check back into TootsieBarron.com frequently to get them the moment that they become available. Tootsie, this has been such a pleasure, the same way the first interview was. And listen, I can't wait for the other two books to finish so we can have you back on here again to discuss them. But in the interim, thank you for being a guest on People of Distinction.
It's been my pleasure, as always. And I will be back when the sequel is released. That one will be out first. Will you be there when I call to you? And if I may sign off to all the listeners and to everyone I ever meet, because it's always the same way, it's how I sign every book, I wish you all that heaven allows.